The stars stretched across the dark sky like silver dust scattered on a black canvas. The human ship Aurora drifted quietly in orbit around a distant planet called Seralith Prime. On board, a young explorer named Ethan Ross leaned against the viewing glass, staring at the glowing surface below. The world looked beautiful from space. Green oceans, silver forests, and cities shaped like shining crystals. Ethan had joined the mission only a few months ago. He was not a soldier or a leader. He was just a cultural exchange officer, someone meant to learn and share human customs with other species. It was not the most exciting job, but to him it felt like a dream. He wanted to see how other beings lived, what they believed, and how they saw the universe. That morning, he expected a normal schedule, meetings with Seralith scholars, sharing Earth's history, maybe answering their questions about music or literature, but his routine broke when the ship's captain entered his cabin with a serious face. "Ross," the captain said, "the Seralith Queen has sent a personal summons. She wants to see you, immediately." Ethan blinked in surprise. "Me? Why, me?" The captain shrugged. No explanation was given. "A royal escort waits for you at the landing bay. You'd better not keep them waiting." Ethan's heart beat faster. He had never spoken to the Queen herself. She was known across the galaxy as wise and powerful, a leader who guided her people with calm strength. Why would she call for him? A simple human visitor? Moments later, Ethan stepped into the landing craft, feeling small under the sharp gaze of the Seralith guards. They were tall and elegant beings, their skin a pale silver that reflected light. Their eyes glowed faintly, like gems hidden beneath water. They said little during the flight, only bowing slightly when Ethan entered. The craft descended into the capital city, a breathtaking place where buildings spiraled into the sky like glass towers. Energy flowed through glowing lines in the streets, and the air shimmered with soft light. Ethan pressed his face against the window, amazed at how everything looked so peaceful, so perfectly designed. At last, they reached the palace. It was not made of stone but of living crystal, growing upward like a mountain of light. The gates opened soundlessly, and Ethan was guided through wide halls filled with murals of stars, history, and Seralith legends. Finally, the guards led him into the throne chamber. The Queen sat upon a high seat carved from crystal, her robes flowing like silver mist around her. Her eyes glowed brighter than any he had seen. She looked both gentle and commanding, as if she carried centuries of wisdom. Ethan knelt slightly, unsure of Seralith customs. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "I am honored to be in your presence." The Queen studied him with calm eyes. Then she spoke, her voice soft yet firm, echoing through the chamber. "Ethan Ross of Earth, I have chosen you for an important task. You will stay in this palace from this day forward, and you will spend your time with my daughter, Princess Lyra." Ethan almost lost his balance. "Your daughter?" "Yes," the Queen continued. "She needs your company. You will share your ways with her, teach her about your world, and walk beside her as a friend." Ethan's mind raced. Why would the ruler of an entire civilization order him, a stranger, to be near her daughter? He searched for words. "Your Majesty, I'm only a visitor here. Surely there are others more worthy." The Queen raised a hand, and silence filled the chamber. "Do not doubt my decision. There are reasons you do not yet see. You will remain here until I say otherwise." Her words left no room for argument. Ethan felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity. He bowed again. "As you command." The Queen's expression softened slightly. "Do not fear, human. This is not a punishment. It is an opportunity, for you and for her." With a wave of her hand, the guards escorted him out of the throne chamber. Ethan's thoughts spun as he walked. What opportunity? What did she mean? He was led through long hallways until the guard stopped at a large door made of silver wood. One of them pressed a panel, and the door slid open. Inside was a spacious room filled with soft colors. There were floating lamps that glowed like fireflies, shelves stacked with star maps, and windows that stretched to the sky. Standing near one of those windows was a young Sarilith girl. She turned as Ethan entered. Her eyes were bright, curious, and gentle. Unlike the guards or the queen, she looked almost nervous to see him. "This is Princess Lyra," a guard announced. Then with a bow they left the room, leaving the two alone. Ethan stood awkwardly at the door. Hello," he said. Lyra tilted her head. "You are the human." "Yes," Ethan replied with a small smile. "Ethan Ross. It seems I'll be staying here with you." For a moment silence hung in the room. Then Lyra's lips curved into a small shy smile. "Good. I have never spoken to a human before." Ethan relaxed slightly. She did not seem arrogant or cold. In fact, she looked like someone who had been waiting a long time for a friend. He stepped further into the room, noticing the drawings, pinned on one wall. They were sketches of stars, planets, and ships. "Did you make these?" he asked. Lyra nodded, her eyes shining. "Yes, I like to imagine places beyond our world, but my people say I must stay here." Something in her tone struck Ethan, an echo of longing. He realized she was not just a princess locked in a palace. She was a dreamer, much like himself. As the sun of Sarilith Prime set outside, filling the room with golden light, Ethan felt the weight of the Queen's command settle in his mind. He did not understand why he was chosen, but deep inside he sensed this was the beginning of something important. The princess smiled again, softly this time. "Tell me, human, what is your world like?" Ethan took a deep breath. "It's very different, but if you'd like, I can tell you everything." And as night fell across the alien palace, Ethan began to speak of oceans, forests, and laughter, while the princess listened with wonder in her eyes. For the first time since arriving, Ethan felt that maybe staying here would not be so bad. Perhaps the queen was right. This was no punishment. This was the start of a journey neither of them expected. The next morning on Sarilith Prime began with soft golden light streaming through tall crystal windows. Ethan Ross awoke in his new chambers inside the royal palace. The room was larger than any he had ever stayed in, filled with furniture that seemed grown rather than built, shaped out of glowing silver wood. Despite its beauty, Ethan felt uneasy. He had not chosen to stay here. The queen had ordered it. Now, whether he liked it or not, this palace was his home. A gentle knock came at the door. When Ethan opened it, Princess Lyra stood there with a quiet smile. She looked less formal today, wearing simple robes of pale blue rather than the heavy garments of royalty. Her eyes glowed softly like sunlight caught in water. "Good morning, Ethan," she said in her careful but clear voice. "Good morning, Princess," Ethan replied politely, unsure how to address her. Lyra tilted her head, slightly. "You do not need to call me Princess every time, just Lyra is enough." Ethan gave a small smile. "All right. Lyra." The name felt strange but pleasant on his tongue. She gestured toward the hall. "Come, I want to show you something." They walked together through long, winding passages of the palace. The walls shimmered with living crystal, and small lights floated like fireflies in the air. Ethan noticed that wherever Lyra went, guards remained nearby, though they kept their distance. At last, they entered a garden that stretched across the palace rooftop. Plants unlike anything on earth glowed softly, their leaves shaped like glass feathers, their flowers opening with quiet chimes instead of rustling. Strange birds with wings like ribbons glided between the branches. Lyra stopped near a pool of water that reflected the sky. She turned to Ethan, her expression hopeful. "Tell me about your world. The Queen says you will share your ways with me." Ethan sat on a stone bench while Lyra sat across from him, her hands folded neatly in her lap. He thought for a moment, then began. "Earth is very different. We have oceans that stretch farther than the eye can see. The water moves in waves, crashing against sand. Have you ever seen an ocean?" Lyra shook her head. "No. We have seas, but they are calm and small. Waves sound alive." "They are," Ethan said with a smile. "And our forests Endless trees with leaves that change colors. In autumn, they turn red and gold before falling to the ground. It feels like the world is painting itself. Lyra leaned forward, her eyes wide. Red trees? Gold trees? I want to see them. Ethan chuckled. I'll show you pictures someday. She grew quiet, thoughtful. Then she asked, do humans have music? Of course, Ethan said. We sing, we play instruments. Music is like feelings turned into sound. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter with curiosity. Show me. Ethan hesitated. He had no instruments with him, but he remembered a song his grandmother used to hum. It was simple, gentle. Closing his eyes, he began to hum softly. The notes drifted into the air, carried by the garden's stillness. Lyra's face lit with wonder. She clasped her hands together. That is beautiful. Our people sing only for ceremony. But your song, it feels warm. Ethan stopped, feeling shy. It's nothing special. It is, Lyra said firmly. I have never heard anything like it. For a while they sat in silence, listening to the strange birds singing in the distance. The awkwardness of their first meeting seemed to fade. Later that day, Lyra decided to show Ethan parts of her world. She led him to the great library of the palace. The walls curved upward like the inside of a shell, lined with glowing tablets instead of books. She showed him maps of star systems the Seralith had charted, poems written in their flowing language, and histories carved into crystal. This is our knowledge, Lyra explained. We guard it carefully, but sometimes it feels heavy. We remember too much and risk too little. Ethan tilted his head. Humans are the opposite. We forget quickly, but we always push forward, sometimes too fast. Lyra smiled. Maybe that is why my mother wants me to learn from you. The days that followed grew less awkward. Ethan told Lyra about human customs, how families celebrated birthdays with candles, how people danced at festivals, how children played games under the sun. Lyra laughed at some of the stories, her voice light and clear. In return, Lyra taught Ethan about Seralith traditions. She showed him how they painted with light crystals, how their gardens bloomed with sound, and how they honored the stars with quiet ceremonies. Ethan listened carefully, fascinated by the depth of their culture. Still, he noticed something beneath her bright smile. At times, Lyra grew quiet, her gaze distant, as if a shadow rested on her heart. One evening, as they watched the twin moons rise over the horizon, Ethan asked gently, "Are you happy here?" Lyra hesitated, then gave a small sigh. "I'm expected to be, but happiness is difficult." "Why?" Ethan asked softly. "Because I am always the princess," she explained. "Everyone bows, everyone obeys, but no one talks to me as you do. No one asks what I dream of." Her words struck Ethan deeply. He saw not just a princess, but a lonely girl hidden behind titles and duties. He nodded slowly. "Then maybe that's why I'm here. Not just to tell you about humans, but to listen to you too." Lyra's eyes shimmered with gratitude. "Thank you, Ethan." That night, Ethan returned to his chambers with a strange feeling. When he had first been summoned, he thought of this as a burden, a command he could not refuse. But now, after sharing stories and laughter with Lyra, it felt different. The Queen's order was no longer just an order. It was becoming something else, a chance to connect, to learn, and maybe even to change a life. As he lay in bed, Ethan thought about the day. He remembered Lyra's laughter, her wonder at human songs, and her quiet sadness when she spoke of loneliness. For the first time, Ethan did not feel like a prisoner of duty. He felt like a friend. And perhaps, he thought as sleep took him, that was exactly what both of them needed. The palace of the Seralith was filled with beauty and wonder, but to Ethan Ross it also felt like a maze. The halls stretched endlessly, curving and glowing with crystal light. There were gardens that sang, fountains that whispered like voices, and windows that looked out to the stars. Yet, despite the grandeur, Ethan began to notice something else. Behind the beauty, there was also silence. Every servant bowed quickly and spoke little. Guards stood tall but never smiled. Even the laughter of the city outside seemed to fade at the palace gates. It was as if the air itself reminded everyone to remain serious, proper, and careful. Ethan often walked with Princess Lyra through these halls. She showed him libraries, courtyards, and training grounds, but he noticed she always followed certain paths, never stepping beyond invisible limits. Whenever he asked if she wanted to explore further, she gave a soft smile but shook her head. One evening, as the twin moons rose high, Ethan found Lyra sitting quietly in the rooftop garden. Her eyes were on the stars, but her shoulders were tense. "You look thoughtful," Ethan said as he sat beside her. Lyra gave a small sigh. "I am always thoughtful. It is expected of me." "Expected?" Ethan asked. "Yes. A princess must always appear wise, always careful. But sometimes—" She paused, as if uncertain whether to continue. "Sometimes what?" Ethan encouraged. She turned to him, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. "Sometimes I want to run. Not as a princess, not as a royal figure. Just as Lyra." Ethan studied her expression. In that moment, she did not look like a royal figure at all. She looked like someone trapped by walls that no one else could see. "Then run," Ethan said softly. "Not outside the palace, maybe, but somewhere inside." Lyra tilted her head, curious. "Inside?" He smiled. "Every place has hidden corners, even palaces." For the first time, Lyra's face lit with a playful glimmer. She stood and motioned for him to follow. "Come, I will show you something." They walked quickly through the halls past the guards who bowed but said nothing. Lyra led him into a quieter wing of the palace, where the crystal walls grew dim and fewer lamps glowed. She stopped before a small door almost hidden behind tall plants. "This," she whispered, "is my secret." She pressed her hand against the panel and the door slid open with a soft hum. Ethan followed her inside and his eyes widened. The hidden room was nothing like the rest of the palace. It was smaller, warmer, and filled with scattered drawings, glowing stones, and models of starships made from carved crystal. On the walls, sketches of galaxies and planets were pinned side by side, some drawn with care, others rushed with excitement. Ethan stepped forward slowly. "You made all of this?" Lyra nodded, her cheeks slightly pink. "Yes. I come here when I feel trapped. It is the only place where I can be myself." Ethan picked up a small starship model from the table. "You dream of flying, don't you?" Her eyes sparkled. "Yes. I want to see other worlds. I want to stand on a planet with red trees or touch an ocean with endless waves. But—" Her voice grew softer. "The council says a princess must stay. They say I must think of duty, not dreams." Ethan set the model back gently. "On Earth, many people have told us the same thing. Stay safe. Stay where you are. But we never listened for long. We always wanted to see what was beyond the horizon. That's how we traveled the stars." Lyra studied him, her gaze full of wonder. "Is that why humans are known as explorers? Because you do not stop?" "Sometimes we stop," Ethan admitted with a small laugh. "But curiosity always pulls us forward again." Her lips curved into a smile, small but genuine. "Then maybe I have a human heart," Ethan chuckled. "Or maybe humans have a little bit of you." For the next hour, they sat in the hidden room while Lyra showed him her sketches. She described each imagined world, the one with glowing rivers, another with mountains that touched the stars, and one with skies painted in gold. Ethan listened, adding his own ideas, and together they laughed as they invented new worlds that had never existed. As the night deepened, Ethan realized something important. Lyra was not simply curious, she was yearning. Her dreams were not hobbies, they were pieces of her spirit. and the palace, for all its beauty, was a cage for those dreams. Suddenly, a faint sound made Lyra freeze. The door panel lit up faintly, as if someone had passed outside. "Who is it?" Ethan whispered. Lyra shook her head quickly. "No one comes here. It must be nothing." But her voice carried worry. They waited in silence. The sound faded, and the light dimmed. Slowly, Lyra relaxed again, though her hand still trembled slightly. Ethan placed a reassuring hand near hers on the table, careful not to overstep. "Don't worry. Secrets have a way of staying safe when shared with the right people." Lyra looked at him, her eyes soft. "I trust you, Ethan." Those words struck him more deeply than he expected. Trust was not something easily given in this palace, yet she had offered it to him freely. When Ethan returned to his chambers that night, he lay awake long after the lights dimmed. He thought about the hidden room, the sketches, and the way Lyra's voice grew alive when she spoke of other worlds. He began to understand why the Queen had ordered him to stay. It was not just about teaching the princess human customs. It was about giving her hope. Unseen by Ethan, however, he was not the only one who had discovered this truth. High above the hidden room, in a chamber of shadows, the Queen herself watched through a shimmering crystal screen. She had seen her daughter laugh, dream, and trust in a way she had not in years. Her lips curved into a faint, satisfied smile. "Yes," she whispered to herself, "the human is the key." And so, while Ethan drifted into uneasy dreams, the Queen's quiet plan moved forward, one that would change not only her daughter's life, but perhaps the future of two civilizations. The palace was never truly quiet. Even at night, soft hums of crystal energy echoed through its halls, and glowing lights drifted like gentle stars. Yet for Ethan Ross, this night felt different. He had spent days growing closer to Princess Lyra, sharing stories of Earth and listening to her secret dreams. The bond between them was real now, no longer forced, but questions still filled his mind. Why had the Queen chosen him? Why insist he stay with her daughter? The Queen was wise, her decisions careful. There had to be a reason deeper than simple curiosity. Ethan did not have to wonder for long. The next morning, a pair of guards appeared at his door. "The Queen requests your presence," one said in their calm, steady voice. Ethan nodded, trying to hide his nervousness. "Lead the way." They guided him through long passages, past tall crystal pillars and silver arches. The path felt heavier this time, as if he were walking toward a truth he had not been ready to face. Finally, the guards opened the great doors of the throne chamber. The Queen sat upon her high seat, her silver robes glowing softly in the light. Her eyes fixed on Ethan as he entered, sharp yet kind. "Ethan Ross," she said, her voice calm and steady. "Come closer." Ethan stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Your Majesty." For a moment, the chamber was silent. Then the Queen leaned forward, her gaze thoughtful. "You wonder why I commanded you to remain here. You wonder why I placed you with my daughter." Ethan hesitated but nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. I do not mean disrespect, but I don't understand. I am no leader, no hero. I am just a simple man from Earth." The Queen studied him carefully. "And that is exactly why I chose you." Ethan blinked, surprised. "I don't follow." The Queen rose slowly from her throne and began to walk across the chamber. Her steps echoed softly against the crystal floor. "The Seralith are strong in wisdom but weak in spirit. We value order, memory, and safety. For centuries, our people have lived without daring to take risks. We have built beauty, but we have lost courage." She paused, turning to face Ethan. "My daughter Lyra is the key to change. I see in her the fire of something new, curiosity, hope, and the wish to reach beyond these walls. But she cannot grow that fire alone. She needs someone to spark it." Ethan felt his heart quicken. "And you believe I can do that?" "Yes," the Queen said firmly. "Humans are different. You are fragile, yet you never stop moving forward. You fear, yet you still choose to step into the unknown. That is what Lyra must learn. Not from books, not from speeches, but from a living example. Ethan tried to process her words. So, you wanted me to be her teacher? The Queen shook her head slightly. Not a teacher, a companion, a friend, someone who treats her not as a princess, but as a person. Ethan thought of Lyra's hidden room filled with sketches of stars, the way her eyes had glowed when he hummed a human song, and how she trusted him with her secret dreams. Slowly he realized the Queen's plan was already working. Still, he frowned. Your Majesty, what if I fail? What if I cannot give her what she needs? The Queen's eyes softened. You have not failed. Already I see her spirit changing. She laughs. She dreams aloud. She looks at the stars with hope, not only duty. That is your doing. Her words filled Ethan with both pride and unease. He had never thought of himself as important, yet here he was, shaping the future of a princess, and perhaps an entire people. The Queen stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. Ethan Ross, you are here not by accident but by purpose. Do not doubt yourself. Simply remain true to what you are, and my daughter will find her strength. Ethan bowed his head. I understand, Your Majesty. For the first time, the Queen's lips curved into a faint smile. Good. Then continue to walk with her. Continue to show her the human spirit. In time, she will need it more than you know. With that, the Queen signaled to the guards, and Ethan was escorted back to his chambers. His thoughts spun wildly. He had arrived on Sarilith Prime as a visitor, expecting to share simple stories of Earth. Now he carried a responsibility greater than he had ever imagined. That evening, Ethan joined Lyra in the garden. She was waiting, her eyes lighting up when she saw him. You look troubled, she said softly. Ethan forced a small smile. Your mother spoke to me today. Lyra raised her brows. And? She told me why I'm here, why she wanted me to stay. Lyra tilted her head. To keep me company? Ethan hesitated. Then he shook his head gently. Not only that, she believes you are meant for something greater. She believes you can lead your people into a new future, and she thinks, I can help you find that strength. Lyra's expression shifted. Surprise, confusion, and a flicker of fear. She looked down at her hands. She says such things often, but I am not certain. I am not as strong as she thinks. Ethan leaned forward. You are stronger than you know. I've seen it. The way you dream, the way you imagine worlds beyond this one. That takes courage. More courage than most. Lyra lifted her eyes to meet his. They shimmered with uncertainty, but also with hope. Do you really believe that? Yes, Ethan said firmly. I do. For a moment silence wrapped around them. Then Lyra gave a small, shy smile. Perhaps, with you beside me, I can believe it too. They sat together under the silver glow of the moons, their bond stronger than ever. Ethan knew the Queen's plan was not just about guiding Lyra, it was about guiding him as well. As the night deepened, Ethan realized something that made his heart stir. His life was no longer his own routine, no longer simple or ordinary. It was part of a story far larger than himself. And though he did not know what challenges lay ahead, he knew one thing with certainty. His presence here was changing Lyra's life, and hers was changing his. The Sarilith Palace was alive with quiet energy that morning. Light crystals glowed softly in the halls, and the city outside sparkled under the twin suns. But inside the palace, tension lingered like a hidden shadow. The Council of Elders had gathered to discuss a decision that could change the course of their world, whether the Sarilith should explore beyond their known borders, leaving the safety of their planet. Princess Lyra stood near the window of her chamber, staring at the horizon where the city met the sky. Her heart pounded and her hands trembled slightly. She had never spoken before the council before, and now she would not only speak but try to inspire them to embrace risk and hope. Ethan Ross stood beside her, offering quiet support. "Remember," he said softly, "you've shared your dreams with me. You know why this matters. Speak from your heart." Lyra nodded, her gaze still distant. "I am afraid," she admitted. Ethan smiled gently. "So am I. But fear is not weakness. Courage is moving forward, even when you are afraid." The doors of the chamber opened, and the royal escort arrived to lead them to the council hall. The elders were seated in high chairs made of glowing crystal. Their eyes glimmered like gems, and their expressions were serious, almost cold. They had heard of Ethan, the human visitor, but now they were about to witness him stand beside their future leader. As Lyra and Ethan entered, a hush fell over the room. The elders observed them closely, their voices absent but their attention heavy. The eldest among them spoke first. "Princess Lyra, you stand before us today to present your vision. We are curious to hear what you have learned during your time with the human." Lyra took a deep breath, glancing briefly at Ethan. He gave her a small nod, a silent encouragement. "My people have always valued safety," Lyra began. "We remember everything, we protect everything, and we rarely risk what we have. That has given us beauty, knowledge, and peace. But it has also kept us from growing." An elder leaned forward. "And what does the human have to do with this?" Lyra smiled faintly. "I have learned from him that curiosity and courage are gifts we cannot ignore. Humans take risks, not recklessly, but because they believe in what they can achieve. Their hope drives them forward, and their dreams often become reality." Ethan stepped slightly forward, his hands open in a gesture of honesty. "It is true. Humans do not always succeed. We make mistakes, but we do not stop trying, because the world is larger than our fears, and the unknown is where life grows." The council murmured among themselves. Some looked skeptical, others intrigued. Lyra drew a deep breath and continued. "I do not ask that we abandon caution," she said firmly, "but I ask that we embrace hope, that we explore not for conquest but to understand, to learn, and to share. Our world can grow if we allow ourselves to see beyond the walls we have built." Ethan watched her closely. Her voice was steady, her words careful but powerful. The bond they had built, the trust and friendship, gave her strength she had never known before. An elder stood, his face stern. "You speak well, Lyra, but the council fears the unknown. How can we trust that the risk is worth it?" Lyra looked at Ethan, then back to the council. She spoke with a quiet conviction. "Because the unknown is where hope lives. Without it, we remain stagnant. Without it, we may protect ourselves, but we do not truly live. I have seen it in the human I call my friend. Hope that pushes beyond fear. Courage that inspires action. I ask you to trust that this same hope can guide us." Ethan added softly, "And I will stand beside her as a witness to what is possible. Not as a ruler, but as a friend. Your decision does not rest only on her. It rests on all of you, and the courage to take the first step." The chamber fell into silence. The elders studied Lyra and Ethan closely. Their expressions softened slightly, as they observed the trust, the respect, and the determination shared between human and princess. After what felt like hours, the eldest elder spoke again. "You have shown wisdom beyond your years, Lyra, and your human companion demonstrates courage in his honesty. Perhaps it is time for the Seralith to take their first step toward a future not bound by fear." Lyra felt a rush of relief and joy. She glanced at Ethan, who smiled warmly. Their plan had worked, not because of power or force, but because of friendship and trust. That evening, the palace was filled with quiet celebration. The council had approved a small expedition beyond their planet. Lyra's eyes shone with excitement as she discussed plans with Ethan. "Can you imagine it?" she said softly. "We will leave our world, see new stars, meet new beings. We will finally understand how vast the universe truly is." Ethan laughed. "I can imagine it, yes. And I can imagine you leading it, Lyra. You will inspire your People more than any speech ever could. She turned to him, her expression serious for a moment. I could not have done it without you. Ethan shook his head. No, Lyra. You did it yourself. I only reminded you of what was already inside you. For the first time, Lyra felt that her role as princess was not a burden, but a responsibility she could embrace. She had grown stronger, not from her title, but from the friendship and guidance of a human who saw her as a person, not a princess. The night sky above the palace sparkled as the twin moons rose. Ethan and Lyra stood together on the rooftop garden, looking out at the stars that had always been beyond their reach. You know, Ethan said, humans always believe that every star has a story. Maybe one day we will write our own story among them. Lyra smiled, her silver eyes reflecting the moons. Yes, a story of hope, courage, and friendship. A story where fear does not control us, but curiosity does. In that moment, Ethan realized how much his life had changed. He had come to Sarilith Prime as a visitor, an observer, unsure of his purpose. Now he was part of a new chapter in history, not through power or command, but through friendship, trust, and the quiet courage to inspire another being to reach for the stars. And Lyra, once a lonely princess confined by her duties, had found the strength to embrace her dreams and lead her people toward a brighter future. The test of friendship had succeeded. Together, human and princess had shown that courage and hope could overcome even the oldest fears, and that the future belonged not to those who clung to safety, but to those who dared to dream. The morning sun rose over Sarilith Prime, spilling gold light across the city of crystal towers. The air shimmered with the quiet hum of energy that powered the palace and the streets below. For Ethan Ross, this morning felt different than any other he had experienced in his life. Today marked the beginning of a new era for the Sarilith. The council had approved the first expedition beyond their home planet, and Princess Lyra would lead the mission. She had spent weeks preparing, studying star maps, learning about navigation, and consulting with scientists and engineers. But, more than that, she had grown confident, her spirit alive with hope and curiosity. Ethan stood with her on the palace rooftop, overlooking the vast city. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting silver shadows over the glowing streets. Lyra adjusted her cloak, her eyes bright with excitement. I can hardly believe it, she said softly. After all these years of being told I must stay, I am finally free to explore the stars. Ethan smiled. You've earned it, Lyra. You've worked hard, you've shown courage, and you've inspired your people. Now it's your turn to see the universe for yourself. She looked at him, a question in her eyes. And you? Will you join me? Ethan shook his head gently. No, I must return to Earth. My mission is complete here, but I will always carry the memory of this place and of you. Lyra's smile softened. I will carry it too, Ethan. You showed me what it means to be brave, to dream beyond fear. You changed my life. The palace guards arrived, ready to escort them to the launch site. The streets were filled with Sarilith citizens, gathered to witness the historic moment. Ethan noticed how many of them looked at Lyra with newfound respect and hope, inspired by her courage and determination. As they approached the launch platform, the great starship gleamed in the morning light. Its hull was sleek and reflective, etched with symbols of the Sarilith people. Engineers and scientists hurried about, checking systems, preparing supplies, and ensuring everything was perfect. Lyra took a deep breath. This is it, she said, her voice steady but filled with awe. The first step into a new future. Ethan nodded. Remember, every journey begins with a single step, and you've already taken the hardest ones. The queen appeared beside them, her silver robes flowing gracefully. She placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. My daughter, she said, her voice warm. You have grown stronger than I could have imagined. You have learned from a human, yet you have also discovered yourself. Lead your people with courage and hope. Lyra bowed slightly. Thank you, Mother. I will not fail. The Queen's eyes met Ethan's, and she spoke softly. And you, human, have given her the gift of trust, of friendship, and of the human spirit. You will always be remembered here. Ethan felt a wave of emotion. He had never imagined that his presence could leave such an impact on an entire civilization. He bowed respectfully. I only did what any friend would do. The launch began. The engines hummed and then roared with power as the starship lifted from the platform. Citizens cheered, their voices echoing across the city. Ethan watched as Lyra's ship ascended, her figure visible through the main window of the bridge. She waved, and he waved back, a connection that no distance could erase. As the ship disappeared into the sky, Ethan felt a mix of joy and longing. The human in him was used to moving forward, exploring, and learning. But this moment reminded him that some bonds are unbreakable, even across worlds. That evening, Ethan walked through the palace gardens one last time. The soft lights of the plants reflected in his eyes, and the air was filled with the quiet songs of the glowing birds. Memories of his days with Lyra filled his mind, the laughter, the shared dreams, the secret rooms, and the stories of Earth he had told her. He paused near the hidden room, where her sketches and star maps had once covered the walls. The room was empty now, but the energy of creativity and hope lingered. He smiled, realizing that the room had not only held her dreams but had also changed him. Ethan reflected on how humans and Sarilith had learned from each other. Lyra had grown brave and confident, and in return, he had learned to see the universe through eyes of wonder, imagination, and hope. Their friendship had proven that even small gestures, stories, songs, and shared dreams could inspire profound change. As night fell, Ethan gazed up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Lyra was among the constellations, charting new worlds, leading her people, and carrying the lessons he had shared. He thought about the stories he would tell back on Earth, of a princess, a queen, and a civilization that had embraced hope and courage. He understood now that this experience had transformed him. He was no longer just an explorer. He was a part of something greater, a story of friendship, growth, and the limitless power of the human spirit. The Queen appeared quietly behind him, watching the stars alongside Ethan. "Do you regret coming here, human?" she asked softly. Ethan shook his head. "No. It has changed my life in ways I never imagined. I came to observe, but I leave having learned that hope, courage, and friendship can truly change the world." The Queen's eyes glimmered with satisfaction. "And that is why you were chosen. Humans carry a spark that even the oldest civilizations can benefit from. You reminded us of what it means to be alive, to dream, and to reach for the stars." Ethan smiled, looking once more at the sky. "Then I will carry that spark with me always." The Queen nodded, and together they watched the twin moons rise, casting silver light over the palace. In that quiet moment, Ethan understood that some experiences last forever. Some friendships, no matter how far apart, continue to shape hearts and minds. As he prepared to leave Sarilith Prime and return to Earth, Ethan felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had come to an alien world, expecting only to observe. Instead, he had shared his human spirit, built a lasting friendship, and helped a princess discover her courage. And in return, he had discovered something in himself that would never fade: the power of hope, curiosity, and the simple gift of being human. The stars stretched above him, endless and bright. Somewhere among them, Lyra was charting new paths, exploring worlds she had once only dreamed of. And Ethan knew that his life and hers would never be the same. In the end, it was not the journey, the palace, or even the Queen's plan that mattered most. It was the connection, the friendship, and the courage to embrace the unknown. And that, Ethan realized, was what truly changed his life. He smiled, feeling the universe around him full of endless possibilities, and stepped forward, ready to share his story with the world.